Let's go back to June of 2021. Out of nowhere, a teaser website appears for a game made by former Megaten and SMT veterans. Kazunari Suzuki, Ryotaro Ito, Tsukasa Masuko, and the man who wrote the books that started it all, Aya Nishitani, coming together to make a brand new game developed by Lancarse, the developers behind Etrian Odyssey and Strange Journey. A number of my friends got incredibly excited, and then the game was properly revealed a few days later, and about half completely lost interest. From the beginning, I was optimistic, but never really hyped. I thought the art style looked cool and the music sounded good, but I wasn't really interested enough to get a good understanding of it. There were definitely some influences from SMT If, and even some Persona in there, but overall, I was willing to give it a shot. And now that I've had the game for a few weeks, let's explore why I believe Monark is an enjoyable game. So like I said, the art style of the game is super cool. I really like the sophisticated chess aesthetic of everything, from the characters' combat designs to their school uniforms to the demons you fight. Not to mention how well it goes with the game being a tactical RPG. It feels like there was some real passion behind the art direction. However, the art style can only go so far. One of the first things I noticed was how rough the in-game models are. Some look alright, such as the main playable characters, but others are just downright awful. The worst ones to me are the school nurse and this guy. The nurse lacks detail, it looks like her head just becomes her hair. Meanwhile, the priest is so wrinkly, his model looks like an unfinished zombie. When it comes to the story, there isn't much I can really say. There are a lot of similarities between it and SMT If, but the contents of this plot is still very standard and ordinary. One day, your school is trapped in a bubble and slowly fills with mist that turns people mad. Everyone lacks cell reception, but occasionally you'll get a phone call while in the mist. If you answer it, you must defeat these demons looking to kill you. In order to defeat them, you make a pact with the Monarch Vanitas and become a pact bearer, granting you power and even a demon of your own that you can command on the battlefield. You then learn that other pact bearers can be found all throughout the school, and each are the cause of the mist in their own location. So it's up to you and the other members of the true student council to hunt them down and defeat them in hopes of freeing everyone. Monarch tackles various subjects that students deal with, such as being a leader, bullying, relationship drama, and more. But it's pretty surface level. When it does get deeper, it's a coin flip whether or not it will handle it well. For instance, I felt like it handled the subject of bullying in a nuanced and sensitive way. Yet when it came to the subject of romance and relationships, it threw in this really jarring and edgy plot twist that just took me out of the moment. In terms of characters, they're all fine. No one strikes me as being very memorable, but no one is unlikable either. They're just your stock anime tropes. You got the mascot, the school nurse, the little sister, the other school nurse who, despite canonically being in his early 30s, is written like he's in his 50s, the quiet one, the pretty boy, the stern and level-headed leader who isn't really the leader because you're the main character and they just listen to whatever you say, etc. I think the most unique and original in the cast, however, is Shinya, but that's mainly because Shinya is just kind of an asshole. Like I said, they're likable, but not very original. While there is an option to play with the original Japanese audio track, I played the game with the English dub, and I'm happy to say it's actually quite good. Everyone not only fits the characters, but they give good performances. Though I hesitate to say the same for the game's mascot character, Vanitas. This little rabbit creature likes to talk in riddles. Constantly. And in the process, it makes it so he has to say way more than is needed to get the point across. Now, pair that with a whispery smoker's voice, and it just gets irritating after a while.
Ideals give humans the power they need, and demons the ego upon which they feed.
Sure, it's funny when he gets scared or freaked out and he just stops rhyming, but I don't think it's matched up well with his voice. But what about the gameplay? How does Monarch stack up to the classic SMT games or even the modern entries? Well, prior to getting the game for review, I didn't know how this game was gonna play despite having watched the trailers. Again, I was interested, but not that interested. Monarch is able to set itself apart from Atlus's games of new and old by playing basically nothing like them. While most Atlus games are dungeon crawlers with turn-based combat, Monark is actually a tactical RPG that plays more akin to something like Valkyria Chronicles or Lancarse's previous game, Lost Dimension. Prior to combat, you spend your time running around the school, talking to students, collecting notes and pieces of lore, and increasing your stats. When in the mist, you're essentially on a timer to complete that area's puzzle before your madness gauge hits 100% and you're sent back to the infirmary. Once the puzzle is solved, you'll find a stack of phones where you can enter proper battle. I love that you actually have to solve the puzzles yourself instead of the game solving it for you. Some are simple, while others require you to explore the school, read the various documents you find, and learn the personal stories and relationships of these students. It's genuinely really cool to play detective as you solve all this stuff yourself, even if a few puzzles aren't the most well thought out. One puzzle I legitimately don't know how I was supposed to figure out, I just kinda brute forced my way through. Another I had to ask a friend how to solve, and while I can see how it all makes sense, it felt like it was a stretch to connect some of the pieces together naturally. In combat, you take turns moving around the board within a specific distance from where you started. You can then take an action before ending that character's turn. If you target an enemy and another one of your units is within range, they will follow up with attacks of their own that feel really satisfying to pull off. Enemies can also counter depending on the attack you used and your placement. It turns combat into a sort of dance where you're always trying to figure out the best vantage point. It's really fun and kind of soothing in a strange way. After battle, you're rewarded points that you can use to unlock new abilities on each unit. For every ability you unlock, that character's level will go up and their stats will increase. Say you have a character whose level is much lower than any battle you can enter. You can win that fight without the lower leveled unit, then use the points you earned from it to level them up and make them usable, meaning you're never forced to drag useless units into battle just to make them usable. Outside of the main character and a human buddy, you also deploy demons into battle. Demons have a lot more customizability than human characters, both in stats and aesthetics. Vessels are equipment that alter their stats, but they also change the visual design of your demon. You can also outright rename them and customize their base forms, changing their voice, height, and even giving them hair with one of two possible colors, gray and grayer. Demons are a neat system that I feel adds a lot to the game. While I do wish I could bring the entire human party into battle with me, demons are a good replacement that adds not only weapon variety, but character building variety too. However, around the 15 to 20 hour mark, the game started to introduce level spikes that made combat start to drag as I grinded out levels for at least 5 different units. While I still enjoyed the combat, my eyes just glazed over as I fought the same battles over and over and over and over and over until I could handle the next section. It really killed the momentum the game had going. Overall, Monarch feels like an upscaled Vita game. It's not bad at all, but it's nothing really amazing. There are lots of pros such as combat, unit building, and puzzle solving, but there are also a lot of chinks in the armor. The character models can look abysmal at times. Some puzzles are either overly simple or don't feel properly playtested. The story and characters are really run-of-the-mill outside of a few exceptions, and the grinding it requires later on is mind-numbing. Honestly, it's kind of like comfort food. Soothing, fun, and chill, but nothing here is really that phenomenal. Well, except the music. The boss music is genuinely amazing. While there is a track here or there that I'm not too crazy about, most of these songs are fantastic. From what I've researched, these songs were made in collaboration with a VTuber studio named Kamisubaki, which focuses on VTuber musicians. I'm playing in the background now, but just look up the song Pleiades. It goes so hard, it's so good. Oh yeah, Monarch. I'm not one to give games hard ratings in my videos, but if I had to, I'd say Monarch is, at its best, a 7. When it's at its worst, however, it can be a 6 and sometimes even lower. It's not gonna hit any top 10 lists unless that list is written by some weirdo named Spencer, but frankly, I enjoyed this game all the same. If you're looking for something fun, I don't think this is a bad choice. Assuming you're into anime games, that is.